For 2,000 years and more, shadow plays have dramatized this country's past. The talking shadows of today tell their stories in many different languages. In this one country live three major races: Malay, Chinese, and Indian. People of different histories, religions, and ways of life, for long living in separate communities, divided by their separate cultures and interests. All citizens of one new nation. A nation facing two fundamental tasks: narrowing the gulf between the 20th century city dweller and the peasant of the countryside, building in its separate races, through a common language, a single national consciousness. This is Malaya. South of the mainland of Asia is a vast archipelago. Here, a crescent in the sun-swept seas of Southeast Asia, are the lands of the Federation of Malaysia. And nowhere can the task of welding together people of different racial background, origin, and language be more closely observed than in Malaya itself, the largest and most populous territory of the Federation. Malaya, a land blessed by nature and geography, a people more fortunate than many in Asia, a tropical climate and soil that has always yielded food for all. Fish from the sea and rice from the land. In today's independent Malaya, more and more Malays are taking an active part in industry, commerce, and administration. To the government and development of this territory, the British had brought their own language and yet another culture to join with those already rooted in Malaya.
Chapter 1, Down the Rabbit Hole. Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank.
All right, children, that's the beginning.
Alice was beginning to get very tired of...
The independence which Malaya's children enjoy is shared by nearly 3 million Malayans of Chinese origin. During the 19th century, Chinese poured into Malaya. They prospered and thrived in towns and cities, but always lived their lives apart. A people of a different faith, another language. Generation after generation, they grew up in the belief that their loyalty was to China and not to Malaya, their home. Third largest among Malaya's many races are the Tamils from southern India. Not so numerous as the Malays or the Chinese, their neighbors and fellow citizens, the Tamils again brought their own faith, their own language. In all, 8 million people. Essential to their future as a nation, respect for each other's ways of life. Most Tamils worship a supreme deity in a multitude of manifestations. But to the Malay, there is only one God, and Muhammad is his prophet.
الاختلاف في الاعتقاد والعبادة وقد جعل العلم نورا ينقذ به الناس عن طريق الضلالة ويرشدهم إلى سبيل العدالة.
Friday's prayers in a mosque are as much a part of the Malayan calendar as Sunday morning service in a Christian church, and the jostics and ritual of a Chinese temple. On the 9th day of the 9th month, Malaya's Chinese commemorate the 9 emperor gods. From communion with their ancestors, they return to the towns and cities of their adopted country. And it was one of its raw materials that early attracted their forefathers from China. Tin. Today, still, most labor employed in tin mining is Chinese. But through their industriousness, the Chinese have been able to build up capital and become active in all commercial enterprise.
Can you grind me 5,000 pounds, huh?
Singapore, I'm KN. Yeah, I'm buying metallic 280.
You might get here the seller 87 and 6.
There's anything more you want to ask from London? See, we can get me some more holdings, rubber.
Contract. Sellers of containers 126. We'll buy that.
In the 19th century, the British introduced the rubber tree from Brazil. For its commercial growth, large plantations were needed. For its cultivation, labor was required. From a similar tropical soil and climate, the Indians came. Today, many Indians are still employed in the production of rubber, Malaya's greatest source of natural wealth. A 100 years ago, this was a land of almost unbroken jungle. The influx of Chinese and Indian hardly affected the simple rural life of the Malay. But today, this same countryside is the setting for dynamic change. New sources of power are being tapped. The power of an abundance of tropical rainfall previously allowed to run to waste. Power to transform the countryside. Power with which to link country and town. Forging fresh ties between factory and farm, townsman and villager. History brought to this country its basic industries of rubber and tin. Now the jungle has made way for more and more cash crops. Pineapple, fruits, vegetables, tea, coffee and oil palm. A rural revolution out of which is developing the modernization of the countryside. Through farmers' cooperatives, the farmers can raise capital for the purchase of modern machinery. Machinery which can raise both output and income. Machinery which the individual farmer could never afford to buy on his own. The peasant producer of rubber has always existed alongside the big commercial rubber estates. Today, the smallholder, already producing more than 40% of Malaya's rubber, is being given technical help in improving the quality of his crop. In all these ways, the living standards of the nation's largest single community, the Malays of the countryside, are being raised. For in a multiracial society, there cannot be stability if the largest community is not enjoying its fair share of national opportunity. The Rural Development Program is more than an economic priority. It is an essential foundation of racial integration. The existence of different languages in one country may not in itself be unusual, but the lack of a language in common cannot but hamper mutual understanding. In the past, the different communities undertook the teaching of their own children, in their own language, in their own schools. Now, the development of a single standardized syllabus is accompanying the building of the many new schools needed for young Malayans of all races.
Sibuk dan ramai orang. Motorkar, lori dan basikal pun banyak. Beca dan bas banyak juga. Bapa Jamil dan Daud masuk ke dalam kedai.
Di dalam bandar sangat sibuk dan ramai orang.
Di dalam bandar sangat sibuk dan ramai orang. Motorkar dan lori basikal pun banyak.
Motorcar, lorry, bicycle. English words now part of the Malay language. A language perfectly suited to the life of the countryside and the telling of old legends is now adapted to the needs of today's technology. At the Language and Literature Agency, linguistic experts enlarge an ancient tongue for an infinitely wider application. Malay, the language of the majority, is planned to become the common national language. For some years, the basic language for teaching must still remain a community's own tongue. But today, every child above the age of 6 is also taught under a system of free primary education to read, write and speak Malay. Whether it be a class of Tamil children or Chinese. Even though the customs and cultures of the past will be preserved, all young citizens of one new nation. For the moment, an older generation may feel a sense of their new national identity, but it is only among their own people that they can express it, whether they be Chinese, Malay, or Indian.
கூட்டணியின் நாட்டுக்கு சாதித்துள்ள பல திட்டங்களை உங்களுக்கு எடுத்துக் கூறுவதே எங்களது கடமையாகும்.
But if the people of Malaya cannot fully understand each other's tongues, they can appreciate each other's cultures. Like the shadow play, traditional Malay dancing is enjoyed by everyone. Both educational and rural development call for stupendous and increasing expenditure. And revenue to support this development depends on economic growth and political stability. The expansion of industry is the key to all these hopes and plans. Industry must provide the revenue for Malaya's development, and industry is something more as well. Industry is itself part of the very machinery of integration. An old Chinese craftsman is now able to communicate and teach his skill to a young Malay. A Chinese and an Indian girl work together side by side. Industry is a melting pot in which all the races can learn to know each other better. Whether it be in the field of light or heavy industry, both foreign and local capital is creating and must create new opportunities, helping to raise the living standards of every community. All an essential source of revenue for the development of a country long dependent upon the fortunes of only two commodities, tin and rubber. Malaya, with its contrasts in ways of life and language, exemplifies the problems facing the whole Federation of Malaysia. Here in Borneo, today only an hour's flight eastwards, are the other territories of Malaysia. Sabah, North Borneo, the home of the Dusun, the Kadazan, the Bajau, and the Kedayan, people of both land and sea, farmers and fishermen, just as the Malays. Sarawak, home of the Dayak, the Iban, and the Melanau, a land of longhouse and kampong, and rivers, the Rajang, the Baram, and the Limbang. These states, though their resources are as yet largely undeveloped, will one day make an important contribution to Malaysia's economy. For all these lands and peoples, the focal point is now Kuala Lumpur. Since 1946, the capital of Malaya, now the capital of the Federation of Malaysia. Tunku Abdul Rahman, the architect and first Prime Minister of a free and independent Malaya, 6 years later, the first Prime Minister of Malaysia.
Today we celebrate the anniversary of our independence.
English, Chinese, Tamil,
Hari ini Malaya sekali lagi merayakan ulang
Malay. One day, one voice, one language will broadcast the celebration of the country's greatest national day. To this land of many races, the colonial rule of the past brought the beginnings of industry and modern education. It brought the challenge of a new relationship with the outside world. In the free and independent Malaysia of today, Malays, Chinese and Indians, and all the peoples of the Federation are partners in this continuing search for a common destiny.